South Central Pennsylvania right now. I'm here with a guest whom I met in the past. It's an old face, not the face, but it's an old experience. I met one of my viewers who came to our meet and greet at Woodbridge last year, and then also came to Bloberg, as you guys said, but I said Bloberg. Anyway, came to that one. That was a crazy one. If I recall, we had some guy who said he just flew in from Zimbabwe, and he wanted to get up and preach and interrupt the whole thing. It was really bizarre that day, but that was kind of fun because we also had the young lady who did the Bride Brookie song who came to the meet and greet, and we had a lovely time with their, what's her name, Zion Simon or something like that. She was there. Anyway, so my guest tonight, we're here in South Central Pennsylvania, and she's off camera. Becs is my guest. We're going to talk about her refugee experience, and most of it's been pretty good. And right now I see I'm talking to the wall because, oh, we got a viewer finally. This is an unannounced live stream. So just let me know who are the viewers if you can. Maybe we get to some more viewers there. Let folks know that they can actually hear me, because this is the problem with doing it on the mobile. I don't know if people can actually hear me right now. It's a pretty cool photo, huh? It's like a cherry blossom tree from DC. Anyway, so I'm going to get started here. And so if I look off in the distance, Becs is off camera. This is not the first time we've done this where people are off camera, but we'll get a chance to talk to Becs. So Becs, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining me and offering to do this interview. Also reaching out to me and telling me you were traveling up here to Pennsylvania.
No, it's a pleasure. And thank you for, taking me up on the offer to meet up with me.
No, it's great. So someone says, I'm South African. I don't know what's going on. What does that mean? Can you hear me okay? Someone says, I'm South Africa. Got more people popping in. If more of the viewers popping in, if you could let me know that you hear us, okay? Because it's kind of frustrating for me. When I'm at home, I can go on my screen and turn it on. I can see that the audio is there, but you should be able to hear us. So just double check and make sure we've got folks there. Only one person is chatting. Just got here. I have no idea what that means. Anyway, so we met at the Woodbridge Island meet and greet last year. You came, your kids were with you, and yes. I got to meet them. They all seem like nice kids. Kids is a loose term. I mean, they're teenagers or adults at this stage, but that was fantastic. So why did you come to meet and greet last year? That that was a pretty cool meet and greet. We had, I think, about 40 people showed up there at Woodbridge Island. Yeah,
it was. I think following you from the onset of the refugee program, and I think it was April, May that you came through to Woodbridge. I think it was just an opportunity to actually meet you and hear your opinion and your views on the program. And yeah, I pulled the kids together and I said, let's go, we're going to do this. And then, it turned out everything we expected it to be. I met some nice people, and I think. And
actually, somebody formed a Woodbridge WhatsApp group. Were you part of that as well? Or
yes,
no?
That's what I formed.
You formed it. Okay, yeah. Maybe somebody asked me if they could do it. I think it was you. Yeah. Okay. Yes,
I formed that group, but I did leave it after a while for numerous reasons. But no, I have still been in contact with some of the people from the Woodbridge area.
Well, that's pretty cool. So a little backstory here. Becs and I had a coffee before we came here. We were at Starbucks. You obviously can't do an interview at Starbucks. There's too much noise, too much motion going on. So we're back here at the hotel. And she revealed to me that she used to watch my program early on, but then abandoned me for a channel hosted by a South African. No, it wasn't Ronaldo, and it wasn't Morning Shot. But and then she just kind of buggered off, and then came back to my channel when she wanted to use me, like so many of you do. No, but just seriously, but that's a true story. You were watching, and you went and watched some other channel. Yep. Any regrets? Watching the other channel?
Yes, I think in hindsight, yes.
It wasn't Scotty Balson. Okay, we'll stop there with, it wasn't that. But yeah, so she came back to the channel with the refugee thing, and I'm grateful she did. And I really enjoyed meeting her and her kids last year at the Woodbridge. They stood out for me. I mean, when she reached out to me recently, the username that she has on WhatsApp didn't ring a bell. And of course, the phone number wouldn't ring a bell. But then her profile picture, I could tell who it was. I'm like, I know those kids. I recognize them. So you came over. You did the PRM email last year. Did you do the statement of interest as well?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the intake questionnaire? Did you get that far or no? I think you also did the Amerikaners?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then when was your first contact?
In September.
September. So, but you initially March. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months before you heard anything.
Yeah.
And then you didn't get over here. That was the first contact was in September. So I mean, can we technically call you one of the September group? These people can call themselves September group, October group, but you didn't arrive until February 19th or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even then, September, October, November, December. So September, October, November, December, January, February. That's another 6 months.
Yep.
So we're talking 13 months from the outset before you really, or 12 months thereabouts. Yeah, about 12 months before you got over here. Was it stressful?
It was stressful. I think trying to coordinate everything to ensure that you don't do anything stupid, before getting your flights, your plane tickets, making sure that you've still got accommodation, you've still got a job, you've still got income, you've still got, all the necessaries that you need, your beds, you can't get rid of anything. So trying to manage that, especially last minute before you come over, I think that's where the stress kicks in, is, getting rid of stuff but still keeping what you need in that interim period. And then obviously just the waiting, waiting for communication. And yeah, I mean, there's some groups that I was on that I think added to the anxiety. But then,
well, I did warn people about that. Facebook and WhatsApp groups, so they're toxic for the most part.
But then there was also some groups. So one group in particular that I was on, that I'm still on, is the Goonies. And, a lot of those guys, very level-headed, and the tone is very low. It's not like...
So it's actually helpful.
Very helpful.
Did you get a sense of community from being in that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of people. I don't want to mention names, and
yeah, that's fine. You don't have to.
But Sentry is one of them, and he was really...
I don't want to mention names, but let me mention
no,
this
but
one.
I'll mention that one, Sentry. He was really like a support for me. And, if I had bad days, I could chat to him, DM him, and he would be there for me. And, that's what we needed, because there's a lot of fake news out there. And
stray voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stray voltage out there, and that's got to be frustrating. But so, you also had to go through the process. I remember last year when I started this and I'm talking to people and they're like, I don't have a passport. I mean, I don't have money for a passport, but people had to get passports. You had to get some passports for family members, did you not?
Yeah. So I had to get passports for both my daughters. Okay. One being a minor, and with me being a single mom. And
so you had to coordinate with the father.
Yes. So their dad stays in Gauteng and we were staying in Cape Town.
Well, I'm sure that made it easier. Not.
Yeah, so it was just a case of planning and obviously communication between the two of us. And he agreed to meet at the Home Affairs in the area that he was, and I was in the Cape Town area. I think I went to Malmesbury for the passports.
Oh wow, that's a little in country there. So,
but it was the easiest Home Affairs to deal with at that stage, and we just made sure our times correlated. And
so you had to go on the same day?
Same day, same time.
Did you have to sign electronically or something at that location?
Yes, he had to.
Okay.
That side, yes.
Well, I suppose it's good that you have a decent relationship with your ex then.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he consented to her coming over then?
Yes, he did. I think he realized, the state of the country, and that it wasn't going to improve. And ultimately, we're doing this for the kids.
Yeah. But not one of your kids didn't come over.
My son.
Yeah, so he stayed behind in South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. He's an adult, or is he a minor as well?
He's 21.
Oh, as a boy, maybe he's still a kid, but no, he's an adult at 21. So okay, but he's still over there. But I did meet him.
Yes,
he came to the meet and greet. I think it was lovely. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great. You guys added some nice color to the no, not as in skin color, but as some interested animated. That was an interesting meet and greet at Woodbridge. But the one at Bloomberg was just crazy with that guy. So yeah, and he was he was just trying to monopolize all the time, and I was trying to be polite, but finally somebody just drug him out of there.
No, and I mean, we felt bad for you because we could see you were feeling awkward and you weren't sure how to manage this, because you don't want to offend somebody, but you also can't let him offend everyone else.
Which is what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finally, when someone's doing mad, I finally had to say, look, that's enough. You're taking other people's time. There's a lot of people here that want to chat. I don't know what his deal was. It was very strange. I mean, but anyway, but let's not harp on that. Mm-hmm. So you came over on the 19th. You've been here for a bit. You've had a good experience, but I believe good experience, I'd have to argue, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that mostly because of your own efforts. I think that you've had some challenges with your case officer, who was about 1/4 of your age, No, that's not to say that she's old, but it's actually half her age. But my point is, I'm trying to make a point here, is that the case officer seemed to think they know better, but didn't. And you've had to stand up for yourself more than once. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. No, that's definitely a fair statement. You know, for the most part, she did what she needed to do.
And that was it.
And that was it. But when there were times where we needed that little bit of additional help for extra appointments with the Social Security or medical emergencies or housing, or, you know, she didn't step up to the plate. And it actually ended in a heated argument where, you know, it's like the people are, I think it's mollycoddled, if that's the right term.
Wet nursed.
They are so wrapped
mollycoddle is a good word, though.
They're so wrapped in cotton wool, you can't look at them wrong and you're offending them. It's just unfortunate with, I think it's that generation. But I just told her as it is. And I told her, you know, where my gripes were. And yeah, it ended up, like I say, in a bit of a blowout, and she reported me.
Yeah, I was going to say, in fact, you even, the supervisor or the whoever's in charge actually wanted to talk to you about this.
Yeah, she reported me to her director of
Tattletale.
the refugee agents that we were dealing with. I had to have almost like a hearing where they reprimanded me and told me that that's the verbal warning that they're giving me. And if I continue to be disrespectful towards her, that I will be out of there.
Did you tell them that she was disrespectful to you?
I gave them the whole rundown of what had happened to lead up to that point. And I explained to them that I think, you know, coupled with emotion, the move, the anxiety, the stress, the kids, the everything, you know, it just got to a point where I needed her to not just listen, but to actually hear what I'm saying and to be there for me. And she wasn't doing that. And that is why what happened. Now,
in this particular case, I suppose one might make the argument it's a personality conflict between you and her. I don't think that's the case based on what you explained to me. I'm hearing your side of it, but I'm inclined to go with what you've had to say. But in some cases, there's bigotry and racism directed against South African refugees. But based on what you told me, some other South African refugees are getting, I don't know, maybe they're getting treated a bit better. So it's not a case of racism, bigotry directed against you. It's a case of the case officer not listening to you. Is that fair?
I think that's fair to say. I do think that they either need to select case agents that are more mature, that have a bit of life experience, and that can understand how to deal with the emotional side of being a refugee. And understand that we are going to speak amongst ourselves. We are going to try and form a community in whichever way, even if it's just a support structure. And, you know, that things that get discussed and that happen at the other refugees is going to come out somewhere along the line. You know, so they need to be aware of things like that. And that's where the fairness needs to come in. They need to ensure that we all get treated the same.
Well, in fact, I think you make a very poignant statement there, and that is that case officers, whether they're former refugees or they're Americans who've never been abroad or whoever they are, have to be cognizant of the fact that regardless of where refugees are coming from, this is a traumatic experience for people. You know, we've got these people running around saying that South Africans aren't refugees because they're not coming to a war zone, but that's not a definition for a refugee. We've got others saying that, well, you know, people who have money, not that you're wealthy, but people who have money shouldn't be going, that's not a refugee. Well, no, you're not describing refugee properly. You have to understand that refugees are victims of unjust persecution for whatever reason, whether it's racial, religious, ethnic, linguistic, sexual orientation. And that's why we grant refugee status to people. People who are refugee case officers have to be empathetic, and they have to be able to listen. I mean, some of these refugees are coming from situations where the family were tortured and members murdered, sexual assaults, you know, shootings, stabbings, you know, people who can't find work and become depressed and become, you know, like they want to off themselves because they're being discriminated against. So these case officers have to have the ability to empathize and listen to that and understand where people are coming from. Now, that doesn't mean that you mollycoddle them, as Becs just said, that's a great word, or that you wet nurse them. That's my favorite one, you know. But you do have to have some empathy and have to listen. Now, this is within reason, but certainly I'm getting the impression from my conversation with Becs that this case officer didn't do that, at least in her case, whereas the case officer was very friendly to a few other of the refugees, but not all. You have to be balanced you have to be consistent, and you have to be fair with everyone, whether they're from Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, the DRC, or South Africa. And what I'm seeing going across the country now, and if I count this as another refugee meet and greet, which technically it was, that would take us up to what, 23 or 24 now across the country. I'm seeing inconsistency in the program. And it makes me wonder, how have they been treating people who came from war-torn zones, who their whole family was wiped out, shot down by, militia or something like that. And this one person escaped and was abused in camps. And then they come here and they get a refugee agent who is not listening to them, who doesn't really care about them. They're just doing a job, and not the best job. I get the sense that your agent was not only immature, but really wasn't interested in doing their job as such, the way I'm describing it. Is that fair?
Yeah, look, I think she had her days, but it was literally a case of walking on eggshells when she was around. You didn't know what her mood was going to be.
What was going to set her off?
Yeah, you didn't know. I mean, I remember driving to our first medical appointment for the vaccinations, and I'm speaking to her and trying to get advice from her. In the meantime, she's on another meeting on her cell phone while she's driving, so she's not even listening to me. So it was like you.
But she's taking you to your event.
Yes, but she was too preoccupied with everything else. So I don't know how many jobs she had going on. I think she had 2 jobs or maybe 3 jobs, but she was just always preoccupied. So I don't think her heart was in it. Even though there were days where she was pleasant and lovely, and then I feel, okay, is it me?
Maybe I'm the problem. Yeah.
That's how I felt. And then I try and reason and I try and understand where she's coming from, but then she does it again and again and again, and eventually I realized no. And I said to the kids, look, there's a problem. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your experience with Social Security. People are always saying that, well, he only brings on people that give good stories. No, I ask people hard questions, and we're doing this here with Becs. And, she's not being malicious. She's just stating the things from perception, the way they happen. So with the Social Security, you went to the Social Security Administration. You had, I think, an appointment,
yes.
Correct? You had an appointment. You went there, and your case officer went with you.
Yes.
And the Social Security Administration was what you sometimes get in a bureaucracy, a bureaucrat who didn't want to cooperate with you, and other refugees were getting Social Security numbers, but you were told that you weren't eligible for a Social Security number. Yes. Is that correct?
The first time we went there, we were told that we don't have the correct documents, the I-94.
But the I-94 is in their database.
Correct. And when
they can call it up.
Yes. And when we called our case worker to assist us, she explained to the lady at the Social Security office, but you can just get the information off your system. And there was a problem. And the caseworker actually just sort of allowed her to not help us that day, and we had to leave. So yeah, that was the first experience. And then when I spoke to the caseworker again, she said, okay, we'll have to set up another appointment, probably we'll get an appointment in 2 weeks' time, somewhere there. And that just didn't sit well with me. And I said to the kids, no, we're going the following day. We climbed on the bus, did the hour trip to town, got back to the Social Security office. And we were greeted by another woman who, first of all, asked me, why do I want to apply for a Social Security number?
Because I'm in America. You're not a person without one.
And then she told us that we don't qualify for Social Security numbers. And I was like dumbfounded. And I said to her, but that doesn't make sense. How? Surely, I need a Social Security number to be in this country, to work in this country. That's the process. That's what I need to do. These are the steps I'm following, and this is one of them. And she just kept looking at her computer screen, telling me that the data that she's got on her system tells me I don't qualify for a Social Security number. Now, how long was this after you arrived? Because the Social Security Administration does recommend that you wait 10 working days, so 2 weeks after your arrival, because the system doesn't necessarily update the I-94, because they'll stamp in your passport, authorized to work, but they want to see the documentation, the actual I-94, and the initial one will say awaiting approval when you land. And then the Social Security Administration, or USCIS, has to update Social Security Administration, and that could take 10 days. Was it within that 10 days or 2 weeks, or was it after? It was after.
Okay, so it should have been done by then.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's no guarantee. We run into cases where the 59ers, 8-9 months later, he still didn't have a Social Security number. But in his case, he found a way around that. But still, that doesn't solve the problem. I mean, if you get a job, you want Social Security taxes taken out so that you have that later on, so you can claim something. So you have those 35 or 40 hours of credible, work experience. That's 10 years of quarters. So you want those 10 years in order to qualify for Social Security. When you get to Social Security age, which I'm not there yet. I already saw that comment. Stop it, you guys, knock it off. But seriously, okay. So, so you didn't get initially, but you do have Social Security numbers now.
Yes.
Okay, and when did you get them?
It was probably about a month after we arrived.
Okay, that's not ideal, but it's not a tragedy. Bad, no. It's not a train smash, as people like to say in Southern Africa. It's not a train smash. Okay, so you got those. What about your EAD? Did you get that?
Yes, we got that. And that was, I think we got that before our Social Security numbers.
Okay, so that came quickly because the USCIS goal is 30 days or less. Okay. So that's pretty good. Yeah, Social Security numbers, EADs, and you've got a job. That's why you're up here in Pennsylvania. You've actually got a job. Yep. And it's with a company that you were familiar with. So how's that going?
No, it's going very well. Again, even the work ethics here are very different. The people
better, worse, same?
No, better.
Okay,
better. The people that I deal with on a daily is also just like kind. I don't even know how else to explain it. It's like you're not fighting for a spot anymore. You're sort of like part of the team. They've just honestly been amazing to me. They've welcomed me in, and they want to see me grow. They want to see me
They want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
They're not trying to cut you down and get rid of you.
No.
That's interesting. We're not going to mention your employer, but we talked about your employer when we had coffee, and you had moved for your employer, and a lot of promises were made which didn't follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but here you're now, and you're traveling. They're paying for your per diem, your lodging, and your training and things like that. Yeah. So that's got to be nice. I mean, other than discovering just how large America is, and you've just gone through one stretch of it. I mean, I can tell people you are living in North Carolina,
yes,
so so she's down in North Carolina, and so she came up to Pennsylvania. It's not a short drive. There's a reason I haven't gone to North Carolina yet. That's going to be a flight. I'm not driving down there. I'll rent a car. But how's it not North Carolina for you? I think you told me that you've got bears in your front yard. I mean, where do you live? Do you live out there in the moonshine country? These people like, hey, are they marrying their sister out in that part of North Carolina? I mean, she's got bear in her front yard. Yeah, look, she's laughing because it's true. I mean, she told me they had to euthanize a bear family because people started feeding the bears. You can't do that.
Unfortunately, yeah. But we do have black bear, and we've got juveniles that run around. We've got adults that
you mentioned one of them was like Smokey the Bear, like the way he climbed over the fence.
It was classic. So, yeah. But no, look, I think North Carolina is a beautiful place, especially if you love nature. I actually took the kids. We went on a trail hike up to Catawba Falls over the weekend on Sunday, and I think there's a lot to see and do there. You just need to have the time, and you don't need to necessarily have the money because most of these state parks are free. So it's really a beautiful place. I've just got to get used to the people, and obviously you've got your good areas and your bad areas.
Sure.
But I mean, for the most part, I think it's a beautiful place.
So this is a little sensitive, but maybe not so much. And I'll tell you because I'm gonna clarify this. Okay. So when we did the 1-year anniversary stream on the 12th of May, one of the first things people said is that, oh, Charles been there a while. He's put some weight on. And I think they said the same thing about Earl. I think Charles did put a little weight on. Earl looks kind of the same to me. So when I walked into the Starbucks, I mean, I was almost taken aback because I heard something about putting weight on. I thought she was talking about me. Becs was referring to herself. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, okay, maybe, but I don't see a lot. But maybe she has put on a little bit. But we know why. It's because takeaways, right?
Well, it's even if you try and eat healthy, that's all the starches. So I mean, in South Africa, we try to avoid starches, carbohydrates as much as possible. Whereas here, your meat is a little bit, and your fresh produce is a little bit more expensive. So your cheaper products are the carbs,
the carbohydrates, which is where you pack the pounds on.
And everything has got sugar in it. Everything.
And if it doesn't have sugar, it has high fructose corn syrup, which is worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. I have picked up a few kilos.
few kilos. Okay. Well, look, I saw her last year twice, and I mean, that's maybe I'm getting senile and old, but she didn't look that much bigger to me. I thought she's like, you're getting chubby. I'm like, hey, I came to see you. Don't be insulting me. But actually, in Africa, if I do gain a few pounds at my age, that's actually a sign of success. I mean, I don't have a pot belly, but if you don't have a pot belly, you're not doing well. So anyway, exactly. Anyway, so she's off camera, so I thought it was safe to have that conversation. She hasn't got any sharp objects either, so I'm okay. And unlike South Africa, she's not packing. It's no firearms. So anyway, but I mean, it's true. I mean, the food is richer here, so to speak, and you've got to be cautious of that. Like when my hip got to the point where I was in so much pain, it was debilitating that I couldn't exercise every day. And it just was almost like overnight that it happened, even though it was building over time. I mean, I just, I'm like a soldier, hey, it's just a flesh wound, drive on, deal with the pain. But one day the pain wasn't the issue. The leg just stopped working, and so, and I didn't adjust my diet. And that's because my whole life, I have like a hummingbird metabolism. I burn through 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day. Sure. Yeah, well, suddenly at the age of, you're not burning 6,000 calories a day, and I didn't make that adjustment. The reason I wasn't getting heavy before is because I was exercising so much and staying fit, and then suddenly I'm not, and so I gained a couple pounds too. So, but and then of course, Arctic, if he was here, he would point out that drinking those Starbucks Frappuccinos doesn't help it. By the way, over 100 people here at this hour. It's nearly midnight, South Africa. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This unannounced refugee interview with Becs, talking about her experience. So how does the adjustment go? And we talked about you and your eldest daughter having a little bit of challenge, not that you're not fitting in, but you don't have that community or that family around you. You don't, and then, for your daughter, she doesn't really have workmates yet, and that's because she's at work. Your younger daughter is doing better because she's in school and she's making friends. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, yeah. So my youngest daughter has fitted in quite nicely. She's made friends. She's even gone to her first sleepover. She's 16. So, also at that age where, I've got to be careful also of who she associates with.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, but I also don't want to stop her from interacting with the kids, because she needs to start creating her own little space, her own groups, her own friendships. It's been the three of us for quite a while now. And, when we were in Cape Town, it was, she just started creating the friendships. And then I ripped her out of that to come here, so I do feel bad, but it's for their benefit.
That's for her future.
Yeah.
The present may be a little painful, but the future life is what matters.
That's it. Yeah. And then, obviously my eldest daughter, she was also getting into a comfort zone in Cape Town, also making friends, and I've ripped her out of that as well. So I feel bad again. But she's starting, she was working, but it just wasn't suitable. First of all, the distance we had to travel and the area that I was in, you do get the dodgy areas, and that was unfortunately in one of them. And so she starts work at her new employer on Tuesday. So I think that will, work out better for her. And then obviously but I don't go to church. So we're not part of a church community, which I think helps a lot. It does. Of refugees sort of grow within the community, which is something that we're probably lacking at the moment. But I don't want to go to a church for the wrong reasons either. You know?
No, I got you 100%. I had this conversation the other day. I'm trying to remember who it was with. Two of the things that make a difference in adjustment here is a lot of people are people of faith who attend church, and you don't have to be a person of faith who attends church. You can be a person of faith and not attend church, but a lot of people, and that helps. I mean, I've talked to so many South Africans who got employment because of their church, because the connections, or because some of them actually went and worked for the church in other circumstances. And then the other thing is that if you have young kids, that kind of leads to, I don't want to say play dates and stuff like that, but it does lead to interaction with other folks in the community. And so it makes the transition, it makes getting accustomed where you're at much easier. But if your kids are a little bit older, like your daughter's on one in school still, and you're not going to a church regularly, then not that you've isolated, but that's two things that you're not leveraging that a lot of people have the opportunity to leverage. I mean, a lot of the refugees I met in Cleveland were building a strong community, and there were a lot there. I mean, we must have had like 50 to 70 people came to that meet and greet. And a lot of them were building strong little South African communities because of church and because they get together sort of thing. So, but there are other South African refugees around you, correct? Near you?
Yes, yeah. I've got so there's a couple that are living not too far from us, about 15 minutes. He was actually shame with the driver's license, because you need to have a vehicle to do your driver's test, and you can't hire a vehicle to do it because of the insurance.
Right.
So there was a whole rigmarole, and he had just bought his car, and he offered to let me use his vehicle for my driver's test. So I just had to get insurance. So we've become friends, but they're going to be, yeah, I'll leave it at that. So we've become friends. Also an amazing wife and their kids. And then, yeah, people that I knew from back in South Africa that also live nearby us. You know, I'm grateful that they're in the area. So it's familiar faces.
Well, that's kind of handy. That helps a bit. So, you know, the folks in Maryland have had a few brides together. The Texas guys have had brides together. They get together. It does help. But it's not an easy road, is it? I told people, I warned from the outset, I said, this is challenging. And I also told people it's going to divide families, break families apart. Not that it's broken your family up, but your son's not here. And I'm sure you probably prefer if he'd been able to come over, but he's staying in South Africa, at least for now.
Yeah. No, it's not easy. And I think there's many aspects that it's not easy for. So whether it's family, whether it's emotional, whether it's just physical, you know, when you arrive, you've got nothing. You can't take a drive to the shop. I mean, you know, we were so used to just driving to the Pick and Pay or driving there, or you know, now you don't have that.
Pick and Pay, not Checkers.
You know, so you
must have been one of the few Pick and Pay customers left, because they're in such trouble right now. No, I shop at Pick and Pay too.
So yeah, it's just, you know, it's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
Where
you have to be humble to do it.
I remember the one day it was freezing. It was just after it snowed in our area, and we wanted to go to a thrift store for the kids to look for a rain jacket. Sorry, I'm knocking the mic here. And I said to the kids, let's go. I mean, we froze on that bus. We took a bus to the other side of the town, other side of Asheville town, and we walked. I've never been that scared in my life. We walked along a highway, through some caged area next to a highway, over a river to get to this Plato's Closet. So it's the kids and I. We drenched. We looked like drowned rats by the time we walked into Plato's Closet. But we got them jackets, and then we had to walk back. But we decided, no, this Uber ride that we're going to pay for now is going to be worth it, because we were soaked. We couldn't walk back, and it was really not a good area.
Well, that's a shame that you had to go. But you're right. I think what people don't want to accept is that unless you're independently wealthy and you have assets you have here, or you transfer here, or you have a pre-existing job and your employer picks you up over here and carries you on, which we've had a couple of refugees where that's been the case. Unless that's your situation, you're starting at the bottom. Yeah. And you have to be humble enough to accept that. And the world doesn't care if you were the CEO of, you know, a car dealership in Somerset West, or if you ran a factory floor in Gauteng. The world doesn't care. Now, a future employer might care if you find the right employer, but the world doesn't care. That doesn't matter. You know, I was a colonel in the Army, but I mean, if I were to go refugee in some country now, they wouldn't care that I was a colonel. That wouldn't matter. I'm a refugee, and I'm also not 22. So you've got to be humble. And I think that gets lost in some people. And I think that it's important just to remind people. So I'm glad you brought that up. So you got a bank account?
Yes.
Okay.
And my kids also, we all three opened a bank account on the same day, which was probably in our second month being here, because to me it wasn't a priority. Yeah, well, second month, that means it definitely wasn't a priority. That's me. I'd have a bank account right away. So, okay, but to me it wasn't a priority, because for us to get to the bank, there was no bank. It was literally about 2 hours drive on the bus. So that to me, it was social security number, EID, and finding work. That's what I was focusing on, and ensuring we had food and clothes for the kids. Well, I would say those are the right priorities. Yeah, and then the bank account came. So, you know, a lot of people, particularly in Florida, but not exclusively in Florida, but around the country, because during Biden, rents nearly doubled, or did double in many parts of the country. And also we have, 20 to 30 million illegal aliens here occupying housing that
they shouldn't be occupying. So rents are a challenge right now. And you shared with me your rent price, and I mean, my jaw nearly hit the floor. Have you experienced any stress, or are you, I'm guessing you're not in a problem now because you're employed and you're working and your daughter's working too. So you're probably enough to get by. But did you experience any stress about, stressing out about, well, gosh, I mean, how am I going to be able to pay the rent? I mean, we've got refugees who are being abandoned by agencies in Tampa, and they're being told the rent will be paid in June, even though they've got no itemized accounting for their money. Was that a factor for you? Because I mean, what you're paying for rent, I mean, I would start a rent revolt if it were me, but that's just me. I mean, your rent is more than my mortgage. That's pretty crazy. Without disclosing it, she pays $30,000 a month. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But she does pay a lot. I mean, was there stress for you? Has that been a concern for you?
So the stressful part was when we, because trying to coordinate it with the pets and everything.
And she brought her pets over.
We needed permanent residence before we could bring our pets over.
Yeah.
And our 3-month term was coming to an end at the temporary accommodation, and looking for our permanent accommodation. The prices were more or less the same across the board. Didn't matter whether it was 10 miles away, 15 miles away, where we are now. They were all averaging about that price. And the caseworker came to us with our ledger to let us know what we had left and, what they'd be able to contribute towards the deposit. And I said to her, okay, but my first paycheck won't come in until after that date, and I would need to pay deposit and first month's rent by that stage. And that was one of the things that led to the blowout. And she told me, no, not to worry, it's fine. They've got funds that they use to cover situations like this. I don't need to worry. They will cover the first month's rent and the deposit. I needed to cover the pet deposit, which I said, that's fine, I'll do that. And when it came to that time to pay the rent, she requested copies of my bank statement, which I haven't had my bank account long enough to have statements.
Get a statement, yeah.
So I took screenshots of all the transactions in chronological order, sent it through to her, and she said, no, that's fine. She's going to send it, for approval. And just before we moved in, she told me, no, sorry, they can't help us. And I said, okay, what do I do now? Then they wanted me to give them all my South African bank accounts. And I said, I'm not going to do that, because that's got nothing to do with this. Mm-hmm. I said, I've got a little bit of money left in South Africa, but my son's there. There's certain things that still need to be covered that side, and that needs to look after that. Mm-hmm. And they weren't happy with that. So they wanted all that information, which I wasn't prepared to provide. And, we ended up sorting it out ourselves, paying everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the refugee program, they can't ask you about assets, but in this case, your point's valid. That's really not your money, essentially. It's back there for your son. Mm. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from. But, they're not used to dealing with people who have bank accounts and resources and, are literate in many cases and can speak English and ask questions, uncomfortable questions about why they're not doing their job. So that can be a challenge with some of these agencies. Now, someone here talked about, I think it was Holden said the average rent's $3,000. No. You can't go with an average rent in America. You have to go with the locality. All right. So people can rent places for $900 to $1,200 a month near me. That's my money. But they just built a brand new apartment complex. I live in a house, apartment complex about kilometer from my house, which is much to my consternation. I'm not happy about that. And the 600 apartments they built in there, but they have 3-bedroom apartments for $2,400 a month there, which is double the rent and then some, what most people are paying, in the area. So you can't go with that, saying it's $3,000 a month. I mean, it is $3,000 a month if you live in Manhattan. It's going to be more than that for a closet. People pay a fortune. That's why when UBS, Union Bank of Switzerland, was interested in hiring me when I retired, I said, well, I'm going to come, but I'm not going to be arrogant. But unless you're paying me $300,000 to $500,000 a year, I'm not interested. And they're like, why? Because I'm going to have to pay $70,000 to $80,000 a year just for my efficiency apartment to live in Manhattan so I can work there. And that's before I even pay any taxes. And I got to pay New York income tax, New York City income tax, federal income tax. I'm not going to go work in New York and be miserable and, be eating, $2 hot dogs at Costco because I can't afford it. Everything's relative. Okay. And when you're saying, wow, that's $40,000 a month. Well, even if you pay $40,000, rand a month, you're not paying 40,000 rand a month. You're paying $3,000, and you're being paid in dollars. It's not the same. Generally speaking, most people will be paid well enough here in their jobs that they can survive from that. So don't get wrapped around the axle about that, guys. Don't obsess about it. And as far as getting money, it sounds like some new folks here. We're up to 136 viewers in midnight in South Africa. Thank you for that, because I know a lot of these people I haven't seen before. They're coming in from South Africa. I'm not sure what you're doing up at midnight, but I'm glad you're here. You can't, when you're asking questions about transferring money, Capitec seems to be pretty popular for most people. A couple people complained about it, but other people, you pay almost nothing to transfer money. Other accounts like FMB and others, you can have like a dollar account. You got to be smart about it. I was going to make that video with financial advice, but the person who was going to do that was threatened, and his business was threatened by a piece of human filth, whom, by the way, I've reported to authorities. I like how you're trying to get me banned by Home Affairs, but you've been reported to authorities for your malicious conduct. So I know you're listening. Okay, let go of your member. Okay, I know you love me, but focus on what's going on here. Sorry, I distracted you. That guy's in love with me. So anyway, but yeah, so you got the bank accounts, you've got the EADs, you got social security numbers, you do got a car. Well, I mean, it's a little SUV. So how's that going? You like that?
No, I'm loving it. It's not what my Fortuner was, but it's close enough. It's stable on the road. It's a full all-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. It's light on fuel. It's just easy to handle. And in North Carolina, the roads are very narrow, so you don't want a massive vehicle because you won't be able to stay in your lane. It's
some of them don't stay in the lane anyway when the lanes are big enough.
It's an amazing little car. It really is.
Well, can we talk about that a little bit? Because we talked about your car buying experience. I think you went to CarMax initially, and they weren't biting because you don't have a credit history.
Yes.
So do you mind telling us that story about how you got yourself a car?
Yeah. So I went to CarMax because I'd done an online application, which I was pre-approved for. And I had
everybody's pre-approved. You've discovered that now, haven't you?
Yes, no, I have. And I had my letter of employment, and I went there and I explained the situation, explained that we're new in the country, and I told them which vehicle I was interested in, and it really wasn't an expensive vehicle. So, but anyway, after he went to discuss it with his manager, he came back to tell me, sorry, we can't assist you. And my daughter just said to me, Mom, we are not taking the bus home today. Please, we are not. And one of the long-term caseworker, that's our 5-year, she's an amazing woman, honestly. She's a Ukrainian. She's
doing a great job.
She's amazing, yeah. So anyway,
that's the people I said shouldn't be here, the Ukrainians.
But she's honestly, she feels our pain, and she's been there, and she wants to help you. I mean, she even contacts us about things that are not case related, like wheat products, things that might upset chest and the stomach, for example, but she really
she cares.
She goes the
she
extra
takes it as a
mile.
calling, not just a job. Okay. So what did she say?
So she said to me, look, here's a few agencies. She told us a while ago, like Fred Anderson, Nissan, and Ford.
These are car dealerships.
Car dealerships, yeah. That if I ever am looking at that I must check with them. So whilst we were standing at CarMax, I thought, let me just phone Fred Anderson, because I'd seen them down the road, but I just didn't want to walk there because it was freezing. And the sales guy, I explained that I'm at CarMax and a first-time buyer, can they assist? And he said, I'm coming to fetch you. And he fetched us from CarMax's parking lot.
Wow. So you didn't have to walk to the Nissan dealer. Or in South African say Nissan.
And he came and picked us up in the car that I actually bought. And
wow. And this is a new car, right?
A new car, 2026 model.
Wow. Okay.
The interest rate is high, but...
it's because no credit history and first
correct.
Time. Yeah,
but he explained, after 6 months we can refinance it, and
in fact he encouraged you to do it after 6 months. Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is a guy who is looking out for his consumer. He's telling her that I'm going to have to give you this right now, but after 6 months you got a credit history, refinance it. I mean, that's what people should do. They should try to help you be successful. It sounds like and look, I haven't had good success talking to car dealers. I usually just buy it, through a buying service. But it sounds like you had a salesman who was concerned about your welfare. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was amazing. Really amazing. He's even contacted me afterwards to tell me to bring the car back so he can put some tint on the windows.
Ooh, okay. You're going to be pimping your ride, huh?
And also just to see how it's going.
Yeah.
It's just customer service. It's we didn't expect that. But brilliant service from Fred Anderson.
Yeah. Sir Glenn Quagmire, South Africa is not cheaper. It's not cheaper. Cars cost twice as much in South Africa as they do here. Many things are more expensive. Electronics more expensive. Mobile phones more expensive. Food can be less expensive there, but even that's gross. So you just can't compare things. You're saying it's cheaper. Yes, I can stay in some lodging in South Africa far cheaper than I can in America, but it's all relative. So America, you can live very well on a modest salary if you're a reasonable and frugal person. But I know people that make $50,000 a week or $5,000 a week, and they won't have a penny because they're irresponsible. So you can't compare that. You're just trying to conflate stuff. If you're not happy with it, then don't have a conversation. Anyway, so back to the story. So you've got a vehicle. It's a new vehicle. It's a nice looking little thing. I like the colors coordination with it. It's kind of nice. And you've got your EADs. You've got your Social Security number. You've got a job. Both of your kids are working. The one in high school is even working too. So we've talked about some of the challenges with your case officer in particular and her lack of empathy. And, sometimes she's there, sometimes she's not. But aside from that, what was the biggest challenge in this program? I mean, obviously the waiting, because you waited over a year to get here, but or about a year, almost a year, because it was in March last year when you put the PR on email in. But what was the biggest challenge in this whole thing?
I think that is the challenge, is that waiting period, not knowing when things are
and no
gonna happen.
communication.
No communication. I felt so terrible when I resigned, like at 99. But it is what it is. Because I couldn't jeopardize resigning before I had tickets.
Yeah. You resigned at the last minute, literally,
yes,
just a couple of days before you flew.
Yeah, the Friday before we flew out. We flew out the Tuesday.
Did your employer try to retain you? Did they want to keep you?
Yes, they did. They thought it was money related and they wanted me to stay. And I just said, sorry, thanks, but no thanks. And I did my exit medical the Monday and we flew out the Tuesday.
Wow. So what was that like? I mean, I presume, have flown before. You seem pretty worldly. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't your first flight, but what about the kids? Was it their first flight? Or certainly it's for all of you, it's probably the first time you've flown that far.
Yeah. So for the kids, it was the first time they've flown out of the country. I think just our trips to the interviews in Pretoria and whatever else needed to happen, that was also for them, like getting a bit of experience and exposure.
Kind of an adventure.
It was because we know what we're working towards. Mm-hmm. It's like bittersweet because you're going to be leaving things behind, people behind, familiarity, and going into the unknown. But sometimes you've got to step out of your comfort zone to grow. And I've always been one of those spontaneous people where I do first and I think later, which I think can be a problem at times. But if I've set my mind to something, I do it. I don't, and I'm sure my family can tell you that, but I don't stop until I've achieved what I need to achieve. And successfully coming over here and establishing ourselves is what I set my mind to do. And I don't want to just survive here. I want to be successful and I want to create a future for my kids and myself. And if my son and them do decide to want to come over, in the near future, then at least we've got ourselves established.
Well, I would have to say that, Becs, you are established now. I mean, you've got the Social Security number, you've got the EAD, you've got a new vehicle so you can get around, you've got a place. Now your interest rate is high and your rental is high, but you've got those basic things. If we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've taken care of those basic needs now on this side in short order. You got here February, March, April, May 19th. It's just been 3 months you've been here, and that's all in order. And despite some of the challenges you've had dealing with other people, and it isn't just that, she doesn't suffer fools. I can tell that. We've had excuse me, a few conversations about some people acting foolish, and she put her foot down, not rudely, but she doesn't suffer fools. But you are established now.
Yeah.
So now the next thing is to get to that point where you're banking some money. And of course, your daughter's going to be out of school soon for the summer, so that's going to be interesting for her. She just got started back in school, and now she's going to be out of school again, and for the whole summer. And America's not like the rest of the world. We have 3 months that they're off. But bank a little bit of money, and then when you get to that point, refinance that vehicle, and then also, I mean, maybe not now. You don't want to move, but you probably want to look at some point down the road to getting a place that's more reasonable, because you're basically paying somebody's mortgage is what you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and see, she realizes that, so that's good. So, what's been the best part about it? I mean, for you, and I'm going to ask you for the kids, if you can speak for each of them, but that might be hard because they're not here. But what has been the best aspect of this?
So I remember when we arrived in the middle of the night. So it was dark. We couldn't really see anything around us. And when the caseworker opened the door and we walked into the house, just that first, that feeling, it's like, I don't think I've ever lived in such a beautiful house. Okay. And that was
your temporary
accommodation. And when we woke, it was just surreal. And when we woke up in the morning, to actually see what was surrounding us, even though it was winter, but all these trees and the nature and the birds and
then the bears and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
It was just, I think that was for me, because I love nature, and it was like unbelievable for me. Coming from Cape Town, it was sand, no trees, sand. As much as I love the ocean and I love the beach, this just having the trees and the plants around you, and the squirrels, and that to me was the best, and still is, the nature.
Well, it's not often you hear people excited about the tree rats with the squirrels, but we have a lot of squirrels in this country. That's for darn sure. They're everywhere. So I don't know. Can you speak for each of the girls? I mean, have they shared with you what's been the best thing for them? I mean, a lot of people talk about the feeling of safety, and that's not what you went to right away, which is interesting. But that's not what everyone says. So just the nature of the environment. You like the natural environment, which is pretty cool. What about the girls? Do you think you can speak for them or no?
So if I can just go back to the safety thing, I didn't put that first because, to me, it doesn't matter where you are, you're still going to be vigilant, and you're still never safe. At our temporary accommodation, I reported it to the caseworker. We actually had a claimed pedophile living diagonally next to us, diagonally from us. Yeah. So our neighbor actually notified us that this guy we must watch out, because we were hearing funny noises in the house at night, and we weren't sure if the neighbor suspected he was going into the crawl space under the house.
Oh my goodness.
We raised that with the caseworker. They didn't do anything about it. So it was just, we were counting down the days to leave. So safety, now where we are, I feel totally safe.
Yeah. But you had a concern in that first place, even though it was a lovely place.
Yes.
You said it was better than where you lived in South Africa. So
yes. But then also traveling on the buses,
fun.
A lot of drug addicts, alcoholics. So
So Democrats. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist that. I mean, there are Republicans that are also drunks. I mean, there's Mitch McConnell. I'm sorry, just kidding.
So safety wasn't, we didn't feel that safe when we arrived, but now we do.
Okay, so it really was the nature. What about the girls? Do you think you can say it for them?
I do think they're happy that they're here. Especially when we see the incident in Cape Town, with the shooting.
Oh yeah, that's right down the street from where you live.
Yes.
I mean, I've been in that news cafe. I'm sure you probably have too.
Yep.
That was cheeky. I mean, it's unbelievable. Broad daylight on a Monday morning.
The thing is, they're so brazen, and the police don't take any case seriously. I mean, when we moved there, they literally robbed us within the first 2 weeks of us moving into the Cape. And here we're thinking, moving from the Gauteng area, that we'll be safer in the Cape.
Yeah, because you bought into the narrative that Cape Town is safe and it's better because it's run by the DA.
Correct.
The DA gets things done.
But so that's that's what you think, and it just wasn't the case. And I mean, the police that came to have a look at the report that, the theft and the break-in, just, it's like so blasé saying it's the opportunists. It's, like,
yeah, they're opportunists
do
till
I want
somebody's
to open
dead.
a case?
Yeah, they don't even want to open a case. That's
No.
crazy.
So yeah, but for the girls, I think they are. I don't know if North Carolina is right for them. I don't know that. I don't even know if it's right for me yet. But I think, once with me traveling a bit and hopefully with the girls maybe getting out and exploring, they'll also find, their happy place and what's going to suit them and their personalities. And then we'll take it from there.
But your work allows you to work remotely. So technically, I mean, as long as the girls are okay moving, you could move to Nevada or Colorado or Pennsylvania or Oregon, wherever you want to go.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I think you want to get some money in the bank first, because when you go somewhere else, you're going to have a deposit, because you're not going to be able to buy a house that quickly. Although we did have a South African last year who bought a house 4 months after he arrived. That was incredibly impressive. Now, even though you betrayed me and went to another content creator for a period of time, you did come back in the end.
Yes.
And so you came back around the time the refugee thing kicked off last year. And I was actually surprised because I started saying things. I assume because she doesn't chat. And if she does, she's changed her username. But she doesn't chat. And I started saying things, and she knew every story. It's like, you've been watching all the videos still.
I do. My kids can vouch for that. Every opportunity, if there's a video, if I'm home and we're not busy, then I put your videos on. If I manage to catch a live, great. If not, then we just watch it after the fact.
I thought she was going to say, when I can't sleep, I just put your videos on. It helps me fall asleep. I was worried that's where we're going. But you did say something very kind to me earlier, and I'm mentioning it not to stroke my own ego here, but it's not the first time I've heard this going around the country talking to people who've arrived on this side. And you told me that, do you remember, you know what I'm going to say?
Yeah, that you became part of the family.
Yeah, that's very humbling, and I really appreciate that, because I met your kids, and I thought they were awesome, and it's a really humbling experience when somebody tells you that, particularly when you're just this face on a screen and a voice. But I guess it's because of the things I've tried to do to help people I call Charles Van Olsen the voice of reason, but I would like to think that I'm also a voice of reason. Charles got that nickname.
I mean, in South Africa, my kids, they woke up hearing your videos, because then it was 5 o'clock in the morning that they'd be listening to you on YouTube, and in the evenings they would listen to you when it's time for bed. So it was literally morning and evenings.
It's a little crazier on this side now, because it's still morning and evenings, but it's different times in the morning, different times in the evenings.
Definitely.
Yeah. So and especially with the night owls, because I've been adjusting back and forth just to play around and see when we get a bigger audience. But because it's frustrating for me, because I want to be there for people, but for a lot of people in the States, it works well whatever time I do it in the evening, but it doesn't work so well for South Africans, and so I've got to find that sweet spot. So plus sometimes I'm just a little knackered, and so
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a big drain doing this 6 days a week, 7 days a week for the news. So all right, so any regrets getting in the program?
Not at all. Again, I think, once you set your mind to something, just see it through. If it doesn't work out, then you make another plan. You change, your goals, and you work towards a new goal. But I mean, you can't give up so soon into the program. It's going to take time to really, I think, acclimate to the American ways and to the American culture. And I think if you're willing to put the work in and the effort in, and you can't not succeed. You can't not succeed.
Well, that's the argument I make to people all the time, because thousands of people ask me these questions. Will I be able to make it? Can I make it? I'm like, can I get a job? I'm like, well, yeah, you can get a job. You may not be the CEO of a ball bearing factory, but you'll get a job. Unemployment's 4.2% nationwide. So, South Africa is, the Great Depression in America, the peak of the national unemployment rate was in the 20s, like 29%, I think it was. South Africa's had 30 and 40% unemployment for 25 years. That was the Depression in America. So what is it in South Africa? So, I don't laugh at people when they ask me the question, but sometimes I want to chuckle. I'm like, really? If you want to work in this country, you can work in this country. It's just a question about how you want to apply yourself. So You mentioned work earlier, that people, they're great to work with and you're enjoying it. The work culture, I think, is different. Americans, despite the fairy tales and the nonsense you hear in the media and in Hollywood, Americans are hardworking and they're generous people. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, definitely. They've all been dedicated to what they do and willing to help you out no matter what the time, and they go the extra mile for you, which is nice to experience that.
So with your job, you've had a chance to travel around a little bit, and you've got to drive some of the byways, and some are a little more frustrating than others. You've traveled around a bit. The girls haven't been able to travel with you on this. Is there any envy on their part? Do they want to see the country? Have they thought about that, or are they just getting their feet planted?
I don't think there's envy, but I think there's guilt from my side. I feel bad because it's like they are they're getting cabin fever. Not that they trapped in the house, but they're stuck in that little town, and they're not actually getting exposure to the different areas, whereas I am. So I try and share as much as I can with. Which is also, I feel bad because it's like I'm bragging, but I'm not.
Yeah. Hey, look where I was today. Oh, we didn't get to go. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, yesterday you went to Gettysburg National Military Battlefield, and what was that like? Because you didn't have a tour guide, you just did on your own, right? Did you drive around?
I didn't do the whole route because I think it's 24 miles or something.
Yeah,
like that,
it takes
and I
a while.
was restricted with time, so I think I went to two auto. Whatever they call it, auto like sites that I could stop at. The first one was the cemetery, but beautiful. It's the way it's so well kept. Everything's maintained. There's nothing's been destroyed or broken.
There's no rubbish,
defaced or nothing. Even in the veldt by the parking lot, there's nothing. You don't see any. Nothing, no rubbish, nothing. The monuments and everything is still intact, the way it should be, probably the way it was when they erected it. It's amazing to see that. And there was actually so many people at the visitor center.
That's pretty incredible, isn't it? They just built that like 10 years ago or something like that. That's beautiful. Amazing. The old one was kind of crappy.
No, and I mean, there's that I don't know if it's a gift store or a bookstore.
Yeah, it's a bookstore.
All those books, on the history. History is not my strong point, but my daughter's thoroughly enjoying civics at school.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's like really.
So she'll probably understand the American political system better than most Americans.
She loves it. She keeps telling me about it, and it's. So I'm glad she's found something that interests her.
A passion.
Yeah, definitely. But she fights a lot with her civics teacher when he starts talking about other countries and South Africa, and I mean she's been through this, so yeah. But she's enjoying it.
Well, you should tell your daughter to tell him to check out my channel if he wants to talk about things in South Africa. But Gettysburg, in fact, here in the hotel, I'm looking across. I mean, we got this lovely cherry blossom photo. That's an actual photo behind me. But there is an oil painting that's on the wall over there, and it looks like it's Gettysburg. There's a bunch of brass cannon there. That looks like Gettysburg. So I didn't look to see. But, that's a big deal in these parts. Not where we're at tonight, but Gettysburg is just about 25 minutes from here. So you were impressed by the site, but what I find impressive about it is that the monuments that you saw, now not the artillery pieces, because you'll see artillery pieces here and there, that was done by the National Battlefield and the U.S. government, but all those monuments are funded and paid for by the veterans or their veteran organizations or the states.
Wow.
So that the federal government didn't put those monuments up. So like the biggest one on the battlefield is the Pennsylvania Monument. And if you go to that, if you saw it, it's on the Union side, the main part of the battlefield. It's huge. It's the biggest thing out there. And there are bronze plates all around it from all the regiments, and it lists all the people who participated by name from Pennsylvania and what happened to them, whether they died during the conflict or whether they died in the battle. And it's pretty amazing. That's Pennsylvania. Then just up the road from that, a little further to the south, a few hundred meters, maybe about 150, 200 meters, is the Minnesota Monument. And the Minnesota regiment that was there, they lost virtually everybody. Their casualties were insane. They were down to just 262 effective regulars when they were thrown into the battle because there was no other regiment around. They were at a quarter strength, from 1,000 down to 262. And they were thrown into a breach in the line where the Confederates were about to come through. And they just charged into the line, and they lost like 85% of their soldiers died in that battle. But they stopped the Confederates from getting through. And the heroism was just absolutely amazing. It's shocking when you think about it. It was July. It was over 40 degrees Celsius. They're wearing wool uniforms. Sure. And the sun beating down on them, artillery exploding, and bullets whizzing by, and they just charge into battle. I've served in combat and battle, but I mean, I can't imagine. We had Kevlars and body armor. There's no such thing in those soldiers back then, and it was just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. But the visitor center is just amazing, though.
It is.
Just, and the bookstore, and not just that, but unfortunately, the prices have skyrocketed too. But they've got incredible, absolutely incredible T-shirts and hoodies and knickknacks and keychains and coffee mugs and everything. You could easily spend a bunch of money there. And I take people all the time. I've taken refugees there. The Stoltz family. Yes. I took them around the battlefield. Did you get to see that?
Yes, I remember that video.
It was cold that day.
And they all had their khaki jackets on.
Yeah, they did. It was cold. I remember that. But and the sun was going down and the temperature was dropping rapidly because it was wintertime. But that was fantastic. So I felt kind of bad that I couldn't show her around, but she managed to do it on her own. Wednesdays are my tough day. By the time I got back to the house, it was after 4:30. But if I never could have made it to Gettysburg, even though it's a 20-minute drive, I would have been there and said, "Hi, okay, there's the battlefield. Got to go." But you got your way around. It's pretty cool. Now we have other battle sites. North Carolina's got a couple, not over where you're at, but over along Interstate 95, just east of it. There's a couple battle sites. One of the last battles that was fought in the Civil War was fought in North Carolina because the holdout troops were in Carolina for the most part at that point in the war. Okay. And then we also have Antietam, which if you go back down, you go down Route 15 to 81, if you're going down that way. Antietam is on 15, and that's actually, no, I'm sorry, that's further east, but you go by Frederick. But Antietam is just south of Gettysburg, and that's an interesting battle site too. That was the bloodiest day in the war. Like 30,000 Americans lost their lives that day or something like that. It was just insane.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was crazy. But it's not as impressive as Gettysburg. As battlefields go, that's the best preserved, and it's just truly amazing. And it's nice to go on a fall day when it's not hot, or on a spring day when it's not too hot. Summer sucks because it's really hot out in that battlefield. But,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So anyway, well, you've been very generous with your time, and I appreciate it. How are we doing? We're at just over an hour. I thought it went. Wait, you don't really. I thought we were talking longer than this because we've covered so much here. What have we left out? What have we not talked about?
Maybe
here?
The pets.
The what?
The pets. The dog.
Oh yeah, the pets. Okay, so yeah, thank you for reminding me that. So yeah, I didn't know if that was a sensitive topic.
No.
So she'll remember, and some of you will remember last year. By the way, 135 people here right now, 100 likes. Thanks for that, guys. At this hour, that's pretty impressive, unannounced. So maybe it's because I have a different IP address and YouTube doesn't know I'm not home, so they're not hiding it. But so last year we had somebody come in the chat, and I don't know if you're watching the show that day, and there was a question about pets, and this person answered and said, "Oh, it's just $200 to send a dog to the States." And I said, "Excuse me? No, that's not possible. There's no way it's $200. That's impossible." And the person called me a liar. They said, "You're lying." I'm like, "Why would I lie about that? Why? To what end? It's not like I'm charging you to bring pets over here." And what happened was that someone had been in contact with PetLift, Morgan's program, and Morgan had negotiated a discount rate for the titer test, which alone was $200 US. It's usually more than that. So she negotiated for a bulk thing. And they heard what they wanted to hear. And they came into my chat and called me a liar. And then they ran off and disparaged me and slandered me in all their little groups and all these people talking about it. And it caused a big consternation. And I said quite clearly, there's no way that it costs $200 to bring a pet over here. I brought my cats from the States to Botswana through South Africa, and I paid like $5,000 for 2 cats, US, not rand. And that was 20 years ago. I said, when I brought them back, it cost me less because I took them to Pretoria East and I dropped them off at a kennel there. So I avoided the flight from Botswana, and plus they just let me take them across the border. They don't care what comes across the border. They look at foot and mouth disease. Anyway, but so I took them down to Pretoria, I dropped them off, and it cost me like $2,800 to send them back. So I'm like, there's no way. I mean, that was 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And guess who was right? So you brought your pets. Now, you're not a wealthy person. We're not delving into your finances, but do you mind? Can you tell us how much you paid? Or you want to keep it to yourself? It's a little pricey, but it was expensive.
I think anyone who has pets and who's been investigating
knows what it costs.
Know that it's
so we don't have to give that figure.
Yeah,
but it was a lot. Guys.
It's a lot of money. But I also started off with OPL, PetLift.
Yeah.
And I remember that video that when they were telling you it's 200. But anyway, so I started off with OPL, which in the beginning it was working fine. They had created groups for the different provinces, for the different areas. And we managed to locate our vet for the discounted titer test rates, and I got my dog with the rabies vaccine there, and the cats microchipped and their inoculations up to date. And then that was in August last year. So yeah, I started with animals in August. They came over now in May. So yeah, they got.
So you were here February 19th, and the pets came behind me, but that was driven by the fact you had to find a place you could have pets, right?
Correct. I had to first be in permanent accommodation that would accommodate pets.
Which is one of the reasons I told people. I said with the pets last year, I said you need to find someone you can trust to take care of your pets. You shouldn't be trying to be pets over because you don't even know where you're going to be. If they put you in a hotel, you can't necessarily have pets. And like I'd like the Hilton chain. Some of the hotels allow you to have pets, but they'll like the pets like $84 a night per pet. Just to have them. So you approach this the right way. Now, why did you take that approach? You just because you're by the way, one of the people said this is an incredible interview. This lady is so level-headed. So I just want to let you know that. So yeah, but I mean, why are you all laughing? What did I say? Oh, they're talking. Okay, Charles Van Alten said Hendo is actually AI with a copy accent. So okay, that's why they're laughing. Okay, got it. Okay, but why did you come to this conclusion that obviously the dog and the cats weren't going to come with you right away? They were going to come later. I mean, it's just because you're level-headed, or you just thought this through, or what?
I like to think I am pretty level-headed, but I just thought logically, it's going to be a lot of turmoil in those first few weeks, months.
A lot of stress.
You trying to still find your feet and find out where you fit into the society, and
get all your documents, get a place to live.
You don't need the extra stress.
Well, and neither do your pets.
No, so we placed them in kenneling, which also cost a kidney.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's if you want to bring your pets over, that's what you've got to do. It's one of those things. If you don't, then make another plan. So the Animal Travel Services accommodated my dog and 2 cats in Cape Town. The cattery is at their own facility. Brilliant. They would post me pictures of the cats weekly. My dog went to a different kennel, not part of Animal Travel Services. And then, so they only managed the South African part of it, the kenneling and booking the flights. I had to then find the people this side and liaise with them and, find out what their requirements are, as well as I had to liaise with CDC and the requirements there.
Right, I know that because of Bruce the service dog. I got involved in that. I'll tell you, some of the stuff I get involved, I had no idea. So Bruce the service dog, I called the CDC. I didn't even know that that's part of it, so I took care of that. So yeah, so there's a lot involved here.
It is. It's a lot. And then you're still trying to manage your life. You've just started working, your kids, and it's
you're trying to get a car.
You're trying to do everything at once, and somehow you manage to make it work. You don't give up. And then also trying to figure out, okay, do we drive up and fetch the pets in Dallas when they arrive? Because if you want to hire a transport,
so they didn't fly them to Atlanta. They went to Dallas.
There are no flights for pets from Washington to our area.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, no, because I thought you were going to say there are no flights to Atlanta, but I know pets come in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, no, they had to come in.
No, but they had to come to where you're flying in North Carolina. Okay, so they'd had to go through Dawson. Gotcha. No, because Bruce the service dog went through Atlanta. That's what I called. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah. So
did you go up and get them, or?
No, I couldn't because of my work now.
Okay, so did you find some service to ship them?
We had to find a transporter, which
cost more money.
Yeah, which cost more than
kenneling, the shipping, then the shipping.
Okay. Crazy.
Yeah. You must love these pets.
I could throttle them now that they're back here with us. But
so what was that like for the girls? I don't know if they love the pets. Were they excited when the pets showed up?
Definitely. It was an emotional experience. Unfortunately, my youngest daughter was working that night when they arrived.
They arrived, okay.
But we went and fetched her with the dog in the car, which was an emotional experience. But no, it's
and it was emotional for the pets too, I imagine. Definitely. Maybe not the cats, they're ambivalent.
But that's what was worrying me. I kept asking the cattery if cats remember their owners.
Yes,
because
they do.
I thought after 3 months they're gonna have forgotten us, because they even when they lived with us we were like their slaves, so we were nothing to them. And when we fetched them, or when they got delivered to us, it was like they never left. They were by us and pestering us, and yeah, so it was a good experience.
Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, and I bring it up because I heard from Paula Tungay today. That's John Tungay's widow. And of course, John just passed away at the age of 89. He was a dear friend of mine. His 90th birthday would have been right about now. Sure. So she wrote to me to thank me for the tribute that I did to him, and that was my pleasure. But she mentioned me, she said, because I know the dogs have. She said, well, the dogs are finally adjusting that John's not here anymore. Yeah, it's an adjustment, you know, but they remember. I mean, if John's not going to resurrect, I mean, but if John came back to life, the dogs would remember him. They'd probably, so they'd be all over him. But yeah, so that's a big deal. I mean, and I get it. So I didn't ask this question. You've got a car, obviously you've got a driver's license. What was that like? And how did that go in North Carolina? Because every state's different. And people, you know, Ohio is really screwing refugees right now with this nonsense they're doing. But I don't think Carolina's doing something. So what was that experience
So
like?
in the area that we stay, none of the driving schools allow you to use their vehicle for a driver's test.
So you have to bring your own vehicle.
You need your own vehicle.
It's the same way it was in Ohio when I was a kid. You had to bring your own vehicle for your tests and that stuff.
And I mean, how do you get a vehicle if you don't have a license, if you don't have insurance? You know, it's
a catch-22.
Yeah. And if you want to buy a vehicle, you need your license to get a better rate, but you can't buy a vehicle because you don't have a license. So it was just, you know, I eventually said
chicken or egg.
I said to the caseworker, look, you know, in South Carolina, one of the volunteers, also for Lutheran services, helps some of the refugees by, you know, giving them the vehicle for the day.
Loaning them the car.
Yeah. You know, is there not something that you guys can do to assist the refugees in our area? And, you know, it was also like just brushed off, you know, but they don't understand that most South Africans were driving in South Africa, had their licenses, and, you know, they're used to commuting by car. And, you know, if there's a way to assist us, you know, that would be a great way. So, yeah, I had one of the refugees were kind enough to offer me their vehicle to use for the day. And then I took out non-owner driver insurance, which is like for 30 days.
Yep.
And yeah, I managed to do my license like that. But I mean, if it wasn't for that South African assisting me, I probably still wouldn't have my license.
Well, that's why I didn't have a license when I graduated high school, because when I was 16, I took driver's education in school. The public schools had it, and I remember Mr. Saffel. I remember he used to tap his thumb or his fingers up on the dash, and he cut one of his fingers off in a lawnmower accident. So he's missing a finger. I think it was this one here or something. Anyway, so it was like he used to tap it. But he was the instructor, and I did it, and you get your learner's permit for 6 months. And then my stepfather, who was a prick, promised me I'd be able to use the vehicle. And then just before it was time to go take the test, he said, no, you can't use my vehicle. I don't have insurance on you. So I didn't have a car. I graduated high school, and my best friend got a car. He was 16. So occasionally we'd go do things. He lived about 30 kilometers away because it was a big catchment area for where everybody went to school. Anyway, so I didn't get away from far very much. And then I went to college at 17, and I didn't need a car on campus. I mean, I could get pretty much everywhere. It was a big campus, but it was all kind of like in a half moon shape. So it wasn't too far to get from place to place. And then I came in the Army, and that's the first time I got a driver's license, even though I've been driving. You know, I've been driving the pickup truck, the bucky on the farm, and tractors and everything. And when I came in the Army, I didn't have the license, and they told me I had to drive. And I'm like, but I don't have a license. You better drive. And then after several months of driving without a license, like, what are you doing without a license? I'm like, they told me to drive. Well, you better not drive anymore. You're going to be in trouble. I'm like, you made me drive. So they finally sent me to the training course, and then I went and I took my civilian test and got my driver's license that way. But yeah, no, I get your point here. And, you know, it's self-defeating of these refugee agencies and case officers not to try to help folks figure out how to get a license, because you become self-sufficient much more quickly if you have the ability to get around. So now you have a 16-year-old. In America, 16-year-olds get driver's license. Okay. She's got an emphatic no.
No, well, apparently there is a process she needs to go through with the driver's education at school. So she can't actually drive my vehicle until she's gone through that.
Well, which is what I had to do in high school.
So it's up to her now to get that side of it done. But yeah.
No, not going to happen. Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask, but I mean, you know, it's she's in school now, and so she's got some friends, but you're very circumspect and concerned about making sure she's got the right friends.
Yeah.
Okay, I assume it's the same way with boys.
Yeah, I think as a mom, you've got to look out for your kids, and sometimes they don't always see it in the same light that you do. They think that you're
trying to hold them back.
Yes.
But
you're only looking out for their best interests. And I think when they're a bit older, they'll look back and realize, okay, I wasn't such a cow. I don't know.
Maybe they'll appreciate it, but
I think so.
Hopefully they will. So, before we wrap up here, let me ask this question. Is there anything that you could have done differently in this program that you would have done? I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question, but is there anything you would have done differently? Because you don't have control over most of it. There's all you can do is go to the place they tell you to go to, when they tell you to go to, and then answer the questions they ask and fill out the forms they tell you to, get what they tell you to get. And beyond that, all you can do is declutter and prepare and be ready. So is there anything you would have done differently?
No. To me, it was more a case of project management from beginning to end.
Well, I like that approach.
It was
level-headed again.
You literally you work through different processes, and it's structured. So that is a problem I have, and I like to do things systematically. I think some people will, they think that they hate it of me, but some will appreciate it. But I like to do things systematically, and that's how I approached this whole refugee program. Even though emotionally I wasn't as level-headed, my emotions were all over the place. Hence the reason Sentry was there to listen from the Goonies, and it was. But from a practical point of view, I think I did everything textbook. From decluttering. I started notifying, in advance when I was going to be selling stuff, see what the interest was like, so that I knew, okay, I didn't need this now, I could get rid of it, and then systematically work through all the stuff until we were left with just our beds and the washing machine.
Yeah, I was reading some of the comments here. Some are kind of funny. Yeah, it's Charles Van Elsen says, I'm a planner too, but my wife, she flies by the seat of her pants. Charles saying, you're going to have to deal with that, man. You gotta be careful. You start digging a hole there, you might not be able to get out of that hole. And with your bum so sore, you're going to regret that.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, it is a shame. But seriously, there's a reason we call Charles the voice of reason. He definitely is that. So great. Any final thoughts or recommendations or advice you can give to people about doing this program? Other than be patient.
No, that's something. No, don't tell me that. When I would hear some of these interviews and just saying, just follow the process. I know Lily says that, and
trust the process.
Be patient and be near cuck. Bullshit. You know what I mean? No human being you cannot control what you're feeling. You cannot control your emotions. You can try and make your circumstances not as volatile, but you can't control it. It's a human nature. You're going to have these ups and downs. So you can't say be patient, because I know I wasn't patient for most of the process. I was okay, like when is this? When is this? But everything happened at exactly the right time that it had to happen. Everything. If I look back now,
rather serendipitously for you,
everything worked out perfectly. So from when I resigned, knowing it's now the end of that financial year, so that worked out fine for me. For my SARS, when that comes up, the pets, getting that process in place, everything has just worked out perfectly. I cannot, to me, the universe has everything lined up as it should be, and I'm not going to question that. It's worked out right for us so far, and I believe that it's going to continue to get better. But no, don't just put your mind to it. If you want to do it, put your mind to it and don't give up. Just keep going.
Okay, so Beck said, "Ach nee, cock," about patience. So Lyra, I'm going to give you other advice. Don't be patient. Spaz out. Freak out over things you have no control over. Every day, check out that portal. Oh, damn it, 35 times. It still says under review. I'm going to magically change it by pushing this button or yelling at the colonel. Just freak out. Lose your mind. You're not coming over. You've been forgotten about.
We all think like that anyway, whether you tell us not to or
I know, but I mean, I just try to reassure people, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, all right. So, you know, it's funny you mentioned the Goonies. I get a kick out of this because at times it's annoying, but I kick out of it. People assume I know what all these WhatsApp groups are and all these Facebook pages, and like I have access to them. And people attack me like, "Whoa, why did you delete me?" I'm like, "Delete you from what? From your group." Okay, I haven't deleted anybody from my group. Which group? Well, I never heard of that group, but you're an admin. Well, someone made me an admin. I don't know that. I've been put in hundreds of groups. Anyway, so, but people assume I know about the Goonies and the Hadidas. I don't know about these things. One day somebody was talking about Goonies a couple months ago, and I'm like, that's a crappy movie. I never did like that movie.
So I think Mersha Smith, the Smiths, I think she's also part of the Goonies.
Yeah, the Smiths were on my news program earlier today. I hadn't seen them in a bit.
So yeah, it's a Telegram group, and it's quite a small group of people, and I think you know, we've become quite sort of close in you know, the whatever
in the digital space, at least.
Yes, you know, and everyone roots for each other and, you know, try and support each other, but yeah, emotions still get in there.
No doubt about it. And again, back to February 7th of last year, in the first 10 minutes, I said, this is not easy. It's not immigration. You're going to start from the bottom. It's going to break some families apart, and you've got to be humble. And I think if you listen to those words and you take them to heart, it makes a big difference.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank my guest. Did you want to say anything else, or are we good?
No. I think I've covered everything.
Okay. Yeah, I think we did. We got to the pets, which I almost forgot. I'm glad you brought that back. And then
wait. I do have one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The daddy long legs in North Carolina are humongous. Humongous. They're about that size.
Yeah. And?
No. So the daddy long legs in South Africa are discreet, and they sit in their corner and eat their mosquitoes or whatever. But these are like, they look like ticks with legs.
Those aren't daddy long legs. Those are tarantulas. No, I'm just kidding.
It's terrible.
Oh yeah, but North Carolina, watch for the ticks. Check yourself when you come in from tall grasses and you're in the forest. Just check your legs, make sure you don't want to get bit, get Rocky Mountain spotted fever or something like that. Just good advice. From late spring until the fall. You know, so basically from mid-April until early October, you've got to watch for that. And that's all over in places that are wooded in the United States. Just got to be careful. Not so much out west, but certainly here in the Atlantic coast and in the South, and you got to watch in the Midwest. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done already. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I really appreciate it. Somebody gave a $2.16 super chat. I missed that. My apologies for that, but thank you for that. And I'll be back later tonight with Night Owls. And thanks. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Once I get home, since I wasn't able to save this on my phone, I'll download it and I'll load it up on Facebook. So I know some people are only on Facebook, but thank you all. God bless and have a good night. And my thanks to my guests. My guests who now I've seen 3 times in Woodbridge and Bloberg, and now here in Pennsylvania. Pretty cool. You guys take care. Cheers.